Part 1.
You are going to hear a conversation between a host family and an accommodation officer for international students. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 5.
Accommodation office, Tom speaking. How may I help you?
Yes, hi. My name's Margaret Williams.
Oh, hi.
I understand that you're looking for host families for international students.
Yes, we're always looking for suitable families, as we have a lot of demand at the moment. How did you hear about us?
From a friend, Mrs. Dalton, who's already with your agency. We live in the same street as her in Maltby.
Ah, yes, I know who you mean. You're quite close to several of our schools.
And I just wanted to ask some questions about registering with you.
No problem.
OK, can you tell me how we go about becoming a host family with you?
Well, once a family first approaches us, we like to make a preliminary visit to the home, have an informal chat and discuss all the registration details first.
That sounds great. Do we need to make an application at this stage?
No, we like to come and visit you first, and provided we're then both happy after the preliminary chat, we usually begin the registration process there and then, and you can complete it and send it in by email.
What about references and things like that?
If the application for registration is submitted and accepted, we need to do some background checks first of all, and we like to have at least 2 references from families or professional people. We'd only do these if you made a definite commitment to proceed.
OK.
We think it's better to check that a family's clear about what is involved in the whole process. Then we can begin the application process.
How long does the process take?
It depends, but it's usually a few weeks, unless there are any delays. Once everything is agreed, we match students with suitable families at the beginning of a term and usually at the beginning of the academic year in September.
That all sounds reasonable.
Can I ask how many students you were thinking of hosting?
We thought that we would like to take 2 to start with. We have 2 daughters aged 14 and 15, so we'd like 2 students around a similar age. That would be ideal. It's easier then for them to strike up a friendship.
That shouldn't be a problem.
Before you hear the rest of the recording, you have some time to look at questions 6 to 10.
Obviously, we have to look at things like how far the host family home is from schools we cover, access to libraries, whether you have Wi-Fi, access to public transport and the neighbourhood in general.
OK. That sounds very reasonable. I think we'd like to proceed.
OK, that's good. We could actually do a preliminary visit at the end of this week, Thursday morning or Friday afternoon, or any time on Saturday, and have a more detailed chat and start the application process, if appropriate.
OK. We're both free on Friday afternoon.
That'd be fine. Can I have the number of your house?
It's 53.
53, and 2 more things. Could I take a mobile number?
Yes, it's 08977 392251.
392251.
Yes, that's right.
And your email address?
It's maw973@maltby.co.uk.
OK. I'll email you the confirmation of the meeting, and shall we say 2 p.m?
Yes,
That is the end of Part 1.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 2.
Part 2.
First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 17.
Hello, and thanks everyone for coming here today. I know it's always a bit stressful going for a job interview, but it's best to be prepared. For any of you who may not know me, my name is Fiona Ogilvie, and my job is to offer guidance and support for students with special needs. Now, you wouldn't be here today if you weren't interested in finding a job in the holidays. So let's get down to it and see what things you need to be looking out for. Most of you, I hope, will be applying for jobs with the companies that have been recommended by the university. The reason for this is that we here at the university already know these companies and have established good working relationships with them. I've also been to visit all of them and checked out the facilities they have to offer. You really need to make informed choices when you're looking for a job and make sure you know before you even get to the interview stage that your needs will be met. But I know that some of you are applying for jobs independently and have looked at companies outside the university recommended list. So for you, it's best to plan ahead and be aware of what it is you may need while you're working. Things that you need to check when you go for an interview are there enough toilet facilities and are these easily accessible? Also, you want to check that all the public areas inside the building are barrier-free, so you can get direct access to these public spaces whenever you need to. And ask about ramps into the building, so you know how many there are and where they are located. These kinds of things are so much more difficult to sort out when you've started work, as they take time. But ramps are an absolute must, so please make sure you know where they are. Another thing you must make sure of is that the lifts have the correct lowered control panels. Ask if all the lifts have this facility or if it's only certain ones. Now, something I think that is often overlooked is working hours. What you want to make sure of is that you get flexi time. This basically means that your working hours are flexible and you can clock on and clock off in times that suit you. Within reason, of course. Most companies do recognise that it takes much longer for someone in a wheelchair to get on and off buses and trains. Public transport can take that much longer, so you need to be organised and prepared. And for those of you lucky enough to own a car, check how many disability parking spaces are available. Remember that it's your right to have a disabled parking space. These also need to be near enough to a wheelchair-accessible entrance or ramp. OK, are there any questions before we move on?
You have some time to look at questions 18 to 20.
Right, let's move on then. Now I want to talk you through the series of visits to companies which we've got planned for next week. On Monday morning, we will be visiting the Lowland Hotel. They have various summer jobs available, working as a receptionist or conference organiser in their busy conference centre, organising and setting up conferences. You need to be prepared for working in an office environment and spending quite a bit of time talking on the telephone. The bus leaves for the hotel at 9 a.m, so make sure you leave yourself plenty of time to get there. When you arrive at the hotel, please gather in the reception area and wait for someone to take you to your first session, which will be a talk. The talk at the hotel will begin at 10 a.m. and then there will be a short tour of the hotel. There will be a light lunch provided, which is usually salads and sandwiches. The next place we'll be visiting will be on Tuesday afternoon. We'll be going to visit a little local company that makes handmade paper and cards. For those of you studying art, this may be just what you're looking for. We'll be taken on a tour of the company which lasts 3 hours. The tour will start at 3:30 p.m. and after that you'll have a chance to meet some of the staff. Tea and coffee will also be provided. We have no trips planned for Wednesday, but on Thursday morning we'll be going to Tobago Travel Agency. This is a very popular choice amongst our students because you can get student discounts on holidays. We've booked a coach for this and it'll leave from outside the refectory at 8 a.m. You'll need to bring a packed lunch for this, so please don't forget. There is a little canteen where you can buy hot and cold food, but this is closed on Thursdays. Friday, we'll be having representatives from all the companies visiting us, so you will have a chance to ask any questions, and of course, put your name down on the list if you're interested in working for them over the summer. This event will take place in the main hall next to the library, and it'll run from 10:30 until 4. I really hope you make the most of this excellent opportunity to not only earn yourself some extra money, but also to gain experience of what it's like to work. And if you'd like to find out more, then please ask some of the students who worked last year. They're all wearing green badges and will be happy to speak to you afterwards.
That is the end of part 2.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 3. Part 3.
You are going to hear a conversation between a tutor and 2 students about their presentation. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25.
Okay, if you want, we've got some time left for some feedback on your joint presentation today.
Yeah, we can do it now while it's fresh in our minds, if it's okay with Francesca.
It's okay with me.
So, Francesca, how do you think it went?
Well, I was really happy with it actually, but I'm glad it's over. I think the main advantage of doing the presentation was that we both learned quite a lot about training and skills development for the workplace and how they improve people's opportunities in life, especially their job prospects.
And we learnt a lot from actually delivering the presentation as well, which is really useful for the future.
Yeah, that was important too. As I said, I was pleased with it, but if I had to do it all over again, I'd change a few things.
Like what, for instance?
Well, the first thing I do is work on the pace of the talk and make the delivery slower. And I'd keep a clock in front of me so that I was aware of the speed. And the next thing is, the length of the talk. I'd make the presentation time 15 minutes for each of us, because I think 10 minutes each was much too short. If we had given ourselves more time, it would have flowed better.
Yes, I agree. I thought the timing was a bit tight. I'd say maybe even 30 minutes each.
30 minutes might have been a bit long for both you and the audience.
Maybe you're right. 15 minutes each would probably have been better.
And the next thing is the order of the data. I thought the sequence was bad. It could have been a lot better.
Yes. If I had to give some particular advice, I'd say you needed to give yourselves a run-through, once or twice using the equipment, just to see what it's like. Doing it without preparation like that's not that easy.
No, definitely not. And another thing for me is that we forgot to give out the handouts with the copies of our slides on them for people to take notes. I should have given them out before we started. And one final thing I do is I check that everyone could see the screen properly. I'd make sure the arrangement of the chairs in the room made it easy for everyone to see.
And Jack, what about you? How did you feel about it all?
Well, I agree with Francesca. Yeah, in everything she said. It's very difficult to make the delivery smooth. When I do it again, I'll definitely spend more time practicing to make it run more smoothly.
Before you hear the rest of the recording, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30.
But would you add anything to what Francesca said?
Perhaps I'd try to pack less information into the time given. I thought at first it would be the opposite. I was afraid that we'd end up looking foolish. And also, I think I'd spend less time on the information gathering phase, because unless time is devoted to practicing, it'll not be possible to give a good performance.
Yeah, I think I'd agree. Anything else?
Yeah, I get very nervous when I speak in front of people. If I did it again, I'd make sure I practiced speaking out loud and projecting my voice. I think the key for me is learning to steady my nerves.
But you were very calm.
Not inside, I wasn't.
Well, it didn't show.
I think you need the nerves to keep you going. But maybe try to take your mind off it beforehand by exercising or something.
Is that everything?
Yeah?
Okay. Well, you'll be pleased to know the feedback from the class questionnaires was that the presentation was enjoyable, so well done. I have to say that I agree with them.
Oh, thanks.
I'll make a copy for both of you of the questionnaires if you want, and if and when you do give a talk again, you can keep them to refer to.
That is the end of part 3.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 4.
Part 4. You are going to hear a talk about security in the UK. Listen to the talk and complete the statements below.
First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40.
Large cities, for instance London, and crowded places such as airports and stations there is the risk of theft. We do not want you to suffer the distress of losing important documents and valuables as soon as you step onto British soil. So here are some important do's and don'ts. Don't carry more cash than you need for daily expenses. If you stay at a hotel, do ask the manager to keep large sums of cash, documents and valuables in the hotel safe and give you a receipt for them. This is a free service. If cash is stolen, it is very unlikely to be recovered. Do keep separately a note of the serial numbers on your traveller's checks, so if they are lost you can inform your bank. Do take particular care of bank and credit cards. Do carry wallets and purses in an inside pocket or a handbag. Don't ever leave a bag unattended and make sure it is securely fastened when you are carrying it. Do carry jewellery and valuables such as cameras, radios and typewriters on you or with you and keep a note of any serial numbers. Do take special care of your passport, travel tickets and other important documents. Documents are at risk particularly at airports and stations where it is obvious that most people will be carrying them. Do make a note and keep it in a safe place of the number of your passport, its date and place of issue. This makes replacement easier if you are unlucky enough to lose it. If you don't want to carry heavy luggage around with you, you can leave it in a luggage office at most large stations and pick it up later. Keep the receipt so that you can reclaim your luggage. Check the opening hours or you may find your luggage locked away when you need it again. If you lose any of your luggage in transit, take this up immediately with the officials of the airline or shipping line. But don't worry too much. 98% is found within 3 days. If you lose anything, go first to the lost property office at the airport or station, as it may have been found and handed in. If you lose your luggage in the street or suspect it has been stolen rather than gone astray, find the nearest policeman who will advise you what to do.
That is the end of part 4.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.